Do you believe that there are forces outside of what you can see and hear that have the power to heal your body? If so, what do these forces look like? Do they walk around like us, appear as ancient gods, and whisper into our dreams? Today, we speak with a core shamanic practitioner and author who has delved into the world beyond our world and shares how he did it. And it's all set to a disco beat. Let a little magic in, today on Homespun Haints. Hello, Hainted Loves. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
Hey, I'm Diana.
Today on the show, we have something fun for you all. We've been talking a little bit about shamanism on this season, and we have brought in yet another shamanic practitioner, Dale Allen-Rowse. He is an author.
He's a YouTuber.
He's got a lot going on. He's really a lot of fun. He's had some spooky experiences, and he's also had some experiences that, while not spooky, definitely tap into something beyond what we normally consider our natural world. So I hope you all enjoy this. We also cut out a blurb about how we were talking about the weather because we figured nobody wants to hear about the weather. It's so freaking hot. Oh, shoot. I did it again.
It's hard to stop talking about stuff that's affecting your every waking moment.
Oh my gosh. I have the worst under boob sweat right now. It is not a joke.
Is that what you were taking out of your bra when you...
Yeah, I was just going with my hand and just shoveling it out, just scooping it out.
Bailing it out like a sailboat.
Yeah, you can hear splashing.
Like a canoe.
Well, instead of talking about how hot it is, I want to talk about how big things are. Because
how big things are?
Big things are. Yeah, because we live in America.
Things are big here.
For those of you that are not in the U.S., if you've ever been here, you know, shit's big here. Our country, it takes like 2 days to drive across, maybe more.
God, yes. It takes 3 days just to drive from Wyoming to Tulsa, and Tulsa's in the middle.
There you go. I was looking at how long it would take to drive to Guadalajara.
Guadalajara, really?
From Atlanta, and it was 27 hours. So I was like,
That's
oh, okay,
not bad.
I could do that in 2 days.
Well, it might just be 3 days in an old van. Don't quote me on that.
But this country is really big. People wonder why a lot of Americans never leave the country, because our states are the size of the larger European countries. Not only is our country big and our states are big, but so is everything else in our lives. And this week, I kept encountering really, really big things. It all started on Tuesday. For the past few days, my son has refused to sleep in his bed. He has decided that it's no good. He needs a new one. Well, a new bed costs a lot of money. I don't know if you've checked out prices lately, but they're really big, thanks to inflation.
Right?
So I took him to several consignment shops, and he found a bed that he loves. I allowed him to get it. It is a sleigh bed. The headboard is 4.5 feet tall when it's standing on the floor, and 3 feet wide.
3 feet from the wall to the pillow.
Where the bed starts, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is ridiculous. It's got like roses carved into the side with scroll work and like gold enamel inlays. I don't know what he was thinking. Just side note, yes, I sort of asked the salesperson if it was haunted in like a way that wouldn't be weird, because I'm also trying to get this place to hire me to build their website. So I had to kind of tiptoe around it. But I was like, so is this part of an estate sale? And the woman's like, no, I think somebody was just changing out their furniture. And I was like, okay, so have you heard any weird noises from the bed? And she's just looking at me and she's like, the bed is fine. Okay, just take the goddamn bed.
She probably knows better than to tell you it's haunted. I mean,
Yeah.
She's in the business to fill a bed, man.
I paid for it, and I called my father because I knew it wouldn't fit in my husband's truck because my husband's truck isn't big enough. So
Oh my gosh.
I called my dad, Dad comes the next day and we fit the bed in and we get home. And I said, okay, now somehow we've got to get this thing up 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah, you do.
And my father is like, well, where's your husband? And I was like, oh, my husband isn't here. And we wait, and I call my brother-in-law to come help, and we're waiting for him. And suddenly, my husband comes around the corner in an even bigger truck. He was gone because he was buying a bigger truck. This thing won't even fit in the garage. It is massive. Just the nose of this thing is taller than your Kia, Diana.
Wow. Is it a truck that you can get in? Or did he
Yes.
specifically choose this one because you can't get in it?
He specifically chose this truck because it already has step rails on the side,
Nice.
little
Okay.
step stool. I was like, okay, all right, these things come in 3s. There's got to be something else enormous that's going to show up in my life. Something. And sure enough,
Oh no.
I went to the grocery store today.
Bought a whole brisket.
No, I can't afford it. I just bought a used bed and a massive truck. We're going to be eating nothing but the heavily discounted 3-day-old sushi from here on out because it's all we're going to be able to afford.
Just go to Costco and get an enormous box of hot dogs.
I don't have a Costco membership. Costco's too big for me.
Not anymore.
Right?
Gotta fill up that truck.
Gosh, yes. So I go to the grocery store. I put my groceries in the car. I'm taking the shopping cart back to the store because I'm not an asshole. And as I'm pushing the empty cart in, I see a grocery store employee standing outside the grocery store looking up. So I had to go see what she was looking at. And there was this enormous beetle. It looked like a giant scarab with like camo armor on. It was so cool. It was like 2 or 3 inches long. It was huge.
Whoa.
And she said it was a Hercules beetle, Dynastes grantiae. So I guess the males have these horns and the females don't. So this one must have been a female. The employee whips out her phone and says, yeah, I saw a male one here the other day, and she's got a photo of it, and she's describing exactly what these beetles are, and she's like, man, I'm really worried about it. It was really high up. It was like 8 feet up, and she's like, I'm trying to figure out how I can get her down. I bet she needs some water. This is not where she's supposed to be. Usually they're closer to, I mean, she's just going on and on and on. I was like, do you like bugs? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, most people don't worry about the bug when they've got a 3-inch long bug in their store.
And then another employee comes by. I mean, I don't know any of these people, but she comes by and she sees these 2 women like staring up. So of course she walks by and she's like, what are y'all looking at? And I was like, look at that bug. And of course the other employee's like, yes, it's a Hercules beetle, blah, 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 blah. And this woman looks up and she's just like, oh, wow. That's really pretty. She's so cute. Like, she pulls out her phone and takes a photo. This just kept going on as like more and more of a crowd of people gathered around to ogle this bug. Well, that's what I got. I live in an enormous state and an enormous country with an enormous car and an enormous bed in my son's room, and we have enormous bugs. Yay, America.
Oh, I love that your son wanted a carved wooden antique rose inlaid gilt sleigh bed. That is so cool.
This thing's ridiculous. I tried to talk him into a slightly smaller sleigh bed that was also cheaper, and he's like, nope, I want the thing that looks like it came out of a castle.
And your husband, who just had to go get a even larger truck that wouldn't fit in your garage, people are going to have a certain picture of him in their mind based on that description. But I want to counter that with the fact that right after he bought that truck, he sent me a text containing a article published in the journal Nature called Interferon Subverts an AHR June Axis to Promote CXCL13 Positive T Cells in Lupus. So, same guy. Not your typical, I need a larger truck Georgian.
No, he's not. He told me he was going to send that to you. He was really excited when he found that article. I don't know if it's helpful at all, but
Yes, it's actually completely very, very helpful. I've found 3 other nutraceutical interventions that have the same mechanism of action as the drug recommended by the trial.
oh, cool. But for those of you that don't speak Greek, that was just Diana talking.
That's just Diana talking.
Sorry, she's a scientist. I think it's pretty obvious you're a scientist.
Exactly. It's what gave it away, my Zener cards. So earlier, speaking of boob sweat, I just want to say that Amber made me boobies for breakfast.
What? Was that like eggs with the tiny yolks, or?
Nope. I'm actually not going to describe it any further. I'm just going to put a photo of it at our show notes at homespunhaints.com.
Is it be censored?
When you find this episode, you will see the boobies for breakfast.
It'll be pixelated with a little black bar over it. And all you can see is a fork.
Oh no. It's full on, full frontal, direct photos of my boobies for breakfast.
Was it just 2, or did you get like the triple lady from Total Recall?
Ooh. No, we went with the traditional 2. She went with. I had nothing to do with this.
You just woke up with some tits in your face.
No, it was tasteful.
Well, what's not tasteful about that? That sounds very tasty.
It was unobtrusive.
All right, so you all can just have this image in your mind of Diana chowing down on some boobies, and you'll have to go to the show notes to see what they actually looked like.
Mm-hmm.
That's enticing.
I hope so. I spend a fuck ton of time on the show notes.
And I'm sure Amber spent a fuck ton of time on those boobies for breakfast.
No, not really.
Oh.
No.
They just kind of grow that way.
It's natural. Yeah.
All right. Well, unfortunately, those boobs are not as big as the big stuff that I encountered.
Oh man, I had a rough day.
What happened, honey?
I was out with the guys and they said I wasn't spooky enough.
Oh, honey, how could they say that to you? You're hella spooky.
You think so?
Of course. After all, you came up with the ectoplasm being ghost jizz theory, and you've been scratched by more horny ghosts than anyone else I know.
Well, I suppose you're right.
But if you're really worried about it, I have just the thing.
Oh, wow! A Spooky AF t-shirt?
That's right. Our Spooky AF line comes in shirt, sweatshirt, pillow, and even a high-quality mug.
Man, those are super awesome, especially for something with profanity on it.
What's even better, all these items were hand-lettered exclusively for Homespun Haints by world-renowned calligrapher Nikki Malik.
Holy ghostly cannoli, that's amazing.
From now on, whenever you brandish your Spooky AF gear, no one will accuse you of being boring.
Yeah, I'm Spooky AF.
Visit homespunhaints.com for all Spooky AF merchandise. Today on the show, we are thrilled to bring on Dale Allen-Rowse. You may have seen his YouTube channel, Spiritual Disco, which is his catchphrase for the work that he does. He is a shamanistic practitioner, a healer, and a manifester, and he has so many really, really cool stories to share with you today. He's going to tell us a little bit about his journey, how he does the work he does, and then give you all, our lovely listeners, some tips for how you can implement some of these things in your own life. Dale, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. I'm a big fan, so I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, wow. Tell us, first of all, you were mentioning before we started recording that you identifying as a shamanistic practitioner.
Yes, I identify as a shamanic practitioner. Shamanism is a huge tent, right? It's everything from animal tracking to ancient songs, drumming, and rattles, to speaking with the dead, to channeling, which is what I do. Like, there's just so many different ways that you can explore the world of shamanism. I did go to a shaman school. Going to a actual school where they teach this was so interesting because they teach all the core principles of shamanism around the world. From there, after being introduced to all the potential opportunities, you get to choose your path. I came into the school already knowing my path, and in fact, the channeling of my books is how I discovered shamanism to even begin with. So let me just go back a little bit.
Yes, please.
To my punitive upbringing in a very traditional Christian home where anything from yoga to playing cards was seen as satanic.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not a lot of freedom there.
I'm in Oklahoma, so I can relate.
Gotcha. So there was two sides of our family. There was the indigenous side that lived on the reservation in the interior of British Columbia. And then there was the, good Christian people. And the two sides of my family did not speak or meet.
Oh.
Right? And so I was on the Christian side of the camp, being raised by crazy people, fairly loveless people. But my cousins who were being raised on the reservation held such magic to my mind. And in a way, they really saved my life because I was being told that I was an abomination.
Sure.
So to know that there were people who were being raised in other ways with other schools of thinking opened my mind to, this is not the only way to think in the world by my parents. There's another way to think as well. The magic that held for me with my cousins who were running and playing in nature and not surrounded by churches and crucifixes was just what captivated my imagination. That's where it all kind of started from, but I went into this shaman school already knowing I was someone who could channel information from beyond me. And that's how I found shamanism. It all ties back to my childhood. So in 2020, when COVID hit, I had been dealing with some very serious health issues to the point where I was needing a walker to get around the house kind of situation. That created this really interesting place for me to have the time to deal with me and everything that was going on with me, from my illness to my past trauma and everything else like this. And there's no better place to unearth all of that in a book. As soon as I sat down to write it, the title came to me, the main character's name came to me, and there was just all this. I'm okay, it's kind of just popping in. I'm okay, so I'm just gonna sit down here and write a few chapters. And the flow was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. It was like uncapping a fountain. I was typing as fast as I could because I was trying to keep up with the flow of information that was streaming through me. I literally wrote 2 chapters and I stood up and I looked around trying to figure out if I was in the middle of some kind of cosmic joke. What? Because I didn't understand fully what was happening. I was tapping into what they call automatic writing, which is a form of free flow association writing. And whether you think that that's channeling that comes from beyond you, or that's just your subconscious, or it's just stream of consciousness, however you want to qualify that, that's what I was doing. Why I say I'm channeling my books rather than writing my books is because I'm learning from the information as it's coming out on the page. I'm oh wow, okay, I didn't know that. Why am I writing about stuff I don't know? By the time I was halfway through my first book, I knew that I needed help. I needed to go figure out what that was. And the voice of Inkling kept leading me back to shamanism, kept leading me back to my cousins being raised on the reservation, kept leading me to characters that were asking me to go study to be a shaman.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how it all started. And that's when I discovered the shaman school, because I'm I need to go and study this for real. So anyways, flash forward all these years and I continue to channel books because it's where I go to learn, where I go to learn about myself, about the universe, about solutions to my problems. There's no end to that. It's just this circular spiral.
So I love the idea of automatic writing. I know that you said it could come from multiple different sources or people have different views on it. In your speculative imagination, where do you think it's coming from for you?
Well, it's me tapping into source of who I am. In shamanism, a lot of times we will go and meet our highest self, the entity that is us, but that is still a part of God. Whatever that means to you and whatever God that you believe in is fine. There's a piece of you that is still spirit, that is still connected to source. So I believe that it's just me visiting my highest self, my highest and best self that exists somewhere on another plane. Again, learning from the information as it's coming out onto the page, which just totally blows my mind. Like, I don't even understand how that's possible. It's like using my keyboard on my computer like a Ouija board. Seriously.
Oh, nice. I like that comparison. So you had no idea you could do this before this one book started. You just sat down to write and realized you could.
Yeah, no idea.
Amazing. Do you feel like this is an inherent skill that you had all along that you're developing now, or do you think this is a skill anybody can develop?
Well, I think everybody has a gift. When I'm seeing people in a shamanic healing session, often we're exploring who they are and what their gifts are. Like, lean into your weird, because that's where you're going to kind of like meet God, if you will. And I trust me, I don't like using these religious terms, but that special part of you. Like, we want to see the glimmer of your soul, and the glimmer is going to be shone through your weirdness. Right?
Do you teach your clients how to do automatic writing, or you're saying they all have their own ways to engage with shamanism for themselves?
So I feel like that's kind of like my gift, and I help them find their gift. I've never had a client who's also someone who can do automatic writing.
You mentioned that you were at this point where you could barely even walk when you started writing these books.
Yeah.
Was it the content that you learned from the writing that you were able to use then to heal yourself? How did that connect?
That's really was a lot of the genesis for me starting to study energy work, because I had been to every neurologist on the West Coast. I had done everything that I was supposed to do. Western medicine was offering me nothing other than these really heavy brain meds that were totally disconnecting me from what felt like me. So that just wasn't an option for me. So my husband and I, we sold our house in town and we bought a place up in the middle of nowhere. And I exchanged my antidepressants for ducks. So it was kind of this holistic change to get away from medicines and get back into things that you can't help but experience joy from, like our little ducks that run around and then we care for and we get eggs from every morning. And it's just the simple little life changes like that, and moving off the grid, kind of, so to speak, turning off all news. So that's where it all started from. But in terms of like studying the energy work and how did I start to actually heal myself, it was unpacking my entire mind, unpacking all my vibe, unpacking my entire set of limiting beliefs that led me to a place to understand that the universe is far more flexible than we have ever been taught. Once I started to look at the energy signature of my disease, the energy signature of my thoughts, the energy signature of my limiting beliefs, then I could start to extract, right, the things that were quote unquote making me sick.
Question about your books. Are they billed as fiction, as novels, or are they like a, alternate reality memoir? How do you describe them?
Pretty much fiction. So what I did is I created fictional characters that I thought were super awesome that people would want to like engage with. So I used these fictional characters, but then put my problems on the fictional character and then try and solve my problems from arm's length transaction.
It's convenient. It opens up a different way of thinking. I like that.
It really does.
Now, before we got on here and hit record, you said that through the opportunities you've had to help and teach others, you have seen some things that would blow our minds. Yes. Would you like to share some of those stories with us?
Sure. So in core shamanism, we have what we call a power stack of entities that we work with really closely. They're our closest allies in the spirit world that we use as guides, but we also use as protectors. The four that we mostly work with is your spirit animal or power animal. Then the next one that we have is your body regulator or gatekeeper. And they're the one who deals with your body and your vibe and your entity within. Then we have the one who looks after your household and all your things and the external world guide. But then we also have the angel of neutrality. And her and I didn't get along so well in the beginning because I was not neutral on anything. I had an opinion on everything when I first started this. In shamanism, you're not allowed to have an opinion.
Oh. Okay.
It is seen as too costly to your soul. So to get into a space of neutrality, especially like on world issues and stuff like that, was just not something I was at all familiar with.
Okay. This was 2020, so yeah.
Indeed.
I get it.
Exactly. My body regulator, to me, is this entity that, like Horus, he's half bird, half man. When I'm in communication with him, like I can feel him in the room in a very specific way. And the way he moves is very, very specific to my mind. I've been developing a relationship with this entity who has been regulating and help healing my body. And to kind of assist in my healing, I reached out to a woman that I absolutely trust, who's one of the most powerful healers that I've ever met on the planet. I'm like, who do you know here locally in Southern California that can introduce me to Reiki? Because I want to explore all this stuff. She says, I know the most powerful Reiki practitioner probably on the planet. I'm like,
Ooh,
oh,
convenient.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Send her over. Right? So it's time for the appointment. And my doorbell rings, and I open the door, and there's like this 16-year-old girl standing there. I'm like, hi, can I help you? She's like, yeah, I'm here for our appointment. I was like, awesome, come on in. She wasn't at all what I was expecting or anticipating. That was the first most awesome thing about it, because then it just really blew open all the other doors. Like, let's just be open to the possibility of all. Anything can go. I mean, she was really pretty powerful. And the session ends, and the first thing she said was, there's this half bird, half man entity that kept telling me like what was going on. Who is that?
Oh.
I had never said this to anyone. I'd never said it online. And for her to be dialed into the entity that I was using to heal myself, like, stopped me in my tracks. And that was the moment when I'm like, okay, there's really something to this off-grid stuff, right? Because like us walking around in this like stupid little meat package that we have, right, is very dense. Like, we don't have a good interpretation of about 99% of the information that's flying around us at any given time, because we're just limited in our senses. We cannot perceive it. But when you get confronted with somebody like that who's like, okay, I know what's going on with you, and you're like, oh my goodness, you really do.
It's objective. Suddenly it's objective, and it's corroborated, and it means something completely different than when it's just something personal, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that. Like so many of our interviews, we will be dividing this one into 2 episodes. So tune in next week to hear more from Dale about his interactions with ghosts and his recipe for manifestation. Dale, tell people where they can find your YouTube channel.
Sure. So everything's at the same place. It's all at Dale Allen-Rowse, and that's DALEALLENROWSE. My website is www.daleallenrowse.com. It's all my name. On Amazon, too, for all my books.
And how many books do you have out now?
My trilogy, which is really the meat of the work that I've been doing here, right? First book is called Foreign to Me, and that book became a bestseller in men's inspirational fiction. But then book 2 came out, and I didn't have really high hopes for it. It outperformed book 1. And then book 3 just was released on Tuesday of this week, and it is outperforming book 2. So not only are people coming back for the next book, they're also bringing their friends. So I'm super excited about that.
Neat. Oh,
Congratulations on your recent release.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Everything's on Amazon. You can also get it through my website if you want to screen copy, stuff like that. I have the trilogy, and then I have 4 books in the Language and Light series. It takes on the origins of conversion therapy, and it's about Nikolai Tesla, who is historically potentially a gay person, but the whole series is told from his secret lover, who's part werewolf.
Ah! Oh, that sounds fun. Well, we'll have links to all of that on our show notes at homespunhates.com, as well as Dale's YouTube channel, where you too can do some disco in a spiritual way.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Dale, thank you so much. This has been such a joy to talk to you. You have such amazing energy that's coming through the computer screen. You can feel it. It's just so much fun to talk to you. You have some amazing stories, and I think people who are listening are really going to enjoy checking out your channel and your books if they haven't done so already.
They'd be ridiculous not to head straight there, I think.
Oh.
Yep.
Embrace their weird.
Yes.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that. Thanks so much, Dale.
Thank you.
Haunted Loves, what do you think? I think as long as you remember to lean into your weird, you'll definitely have a spooky day.
Homespun Haints is hosted by Becky Kielimnik and Diana Doty, and produced by Homespun Haints Media LLC. Editing and music by Becky Kielimnik. Show notes by Diana Doty. If you have a ghost story and you'd like to be considered as a guest for this podcast, please visit our website at homespunhaints.com/submit.